Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of the Day in the Life series of the Tech Talk with me, Kazeem. And I've got a very exciting guest on the show with me today, as you can see, Holly Lehman. Hi, Holly, and welcome to the Tech Talk show.
Hello, Kazeem. Thank you so much for having me.
Holly, I'm sure you're not a stranger to many of my audience, right?
No.
But for those who don't know you yet, so do you mind to tell us a little bit about yourself, Holly, and what you do?
Yeah, of course. So thank you again for having me. I'm so excited to be a part of this show. A little bit about myself. I am actually from Las Vegas, Nevada, born and raised. After my husband and I had our first daughter, we moved to Seattle, Washington, where I now work at Microsoft, but that's not actually, tech is not my original career. I actually started in a stint in hospitality. I worked for a few years, about 8 in law, and came here to Seattle where I worked again in hospitality and then found my way into Microsoft. And I've navigated my career in Microsoft for about 10 years. Personally, I am married. I have 2 little girls and a sweet little dog, Poppy, that is always with me. So, a little bit about me. We can dig into whatever you want.
Everybody knows that you work at Microsoft,
Yeah.
Ollie, but maybe not so much about your background now. Yes. So I'm going to kick off with my first question for you, Ollie. Do you mind to tell us a little bit more about your background and why working at Microsoft excites you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I genuinely have a love for people. And I think that working in Microsoft or working in hospitality is what helped me have this genuine passion that I have now for the tech community. Working in hospitality, I did about almost every front of house job you can think of. So front desk, concierge, executive assistant. VIP guest services. I just loved working with people and making their experience memorable when they went to Vegas for their holiday with their friends and family. And so I think that seeing the connections I was able to make with people then are what helped me really amplify the tech community now, because I get to have that same face to face, one on one connection with all of these amazing humans and technology. My stint in law enforcement, I did booking and releasing in a jail. I worked for 5 detectives. I worked in the police department where I did report writing. I did ride alongs. And, I just realized that that piece of community wasn't for me. I like being happy. I like sharing positive interactions with people. But what I will say is for those listening that might think, well, I don't code, I don't belong in technology. That's absolutely fundamentally the farthest thing from the truth. We need every skill set in Microsoft. And that is what I realized, is that working in hospitality gave me this passion for people, which makes me love being a community manager. Working in law, I got attention to detail, the ability to be, have this detailed experience and learn protocols and procedures, which helped me to be a program manager and being able to run events and event management and things of that nature. And so you asked what I love about working at Microsoft is that very thing, that you can use every skill you have, find your passion, share that with your manager, and start to take on projects that really amplify your strengths, and help some of the weaker areas to really get that muscle, right? You take on projects that grow you. And I was able to in Microsoft go from an administrative assistant to a program manager and now a product manager in Teams. So if you have the right drive and the willpower and the ability to really speak up for yourself and own your career, you have that ability in Microsoft, and I value that very, very much. The other thing that I'll say I enjoy about Microsoft, especially now more than ever, they were truly amazing during the pandemic. As we had to hurry and flip to hybrid, there was this communication from Satya to down to my direct manager, willing to help and be there for your well-being, so that you could juggle all the different nuances of this new world that we live in called hybrid.
So, as a Microsoft Teams marketing manager, what does your typical day looks like doing what you do at work?
Yeah, so I have to say, I've never been in marketing, and I love it. I absolutely love being on Microsoft Teams. It is a product that, I use every single day, and it's a product that draws us together worldwide. It's allowed me to work from home. I mean, there's just so many benefits. It's allowed me to collaborate with my team in a different way than I ever imagined, right? Since we're no longer in a conference room. And so my day is different every single day. And I love that, actually. So in marketing, I have a few different hats. For those of you that may or may not know, there's a huge tech event once a year, usually in February, called Ignite, or September, depends. But usually it's one of the biggest events of the year. And yes, it has been virtual, but still it's something that I own for my team. And so during Ignite, my role is to make sure that how many sessions do we have? How many breakout rooms do we have? How can we connect with community? How can we use social to amplify our sessions so that people want to watch and engage and participate? When Ignite isn't happening, the other hat that I wear that I really, really enjoy, I get to coordinate the blog for What's New in Teams. So it's a monthly blog that goes out with all the new features for, IT pros, devs, admin, and we get to share that with everybody. And so my job is to work with my entire team to make sure that the new features that are coming out are accurate, truthful, meaning that if they get delayed or canceled, that my job is to make sure that we don't share information publicly so that we don't add to your confusion, but that the descriptions of the features are written in a way that's consumable and usable. And then it's just fun to bring it all together, make it something that people can ingest and enjoy and then use, and then get their feedback. So after the blog goes out, it's me answering your questions on the blog. So I love when people share their posts, their comments, their feedback, and we actually capture all that and share it back with the engineering team, because any possible way that we can communicate with you, the end user, helps us know how we can make our product better. And coming from a community lens, I want to do that. I want to hear what's working and what's not. So that's a little bit about my day. Outside of that, my other job is to go through the MS Learn channel to see, do we need new certifications? What's missing? What are some gaps? What are some new features that we've released that may not be available, and you need that information? And then just making sure on MS Docs, what's working, what's not. What are the more successful docs? What are ones that we might do a little bit more improvement on? And what are some new features that have come out that may need documentation that isn't there at the moment? And then lastly, I work with social media. So how can I amplify our work? How can I share what's happening on our team? How can I drive people to sessions like this? Sessions like the Head in the Cloud, Heart in the Community that I run with Isadora Ketanique. So it's just really fun, and it showed me how powerful social media can be in this hybrid world that we work in now. So I hope that answered okay.
What I want to ask you next is, outside of how interesting your job is at Microsoft, what would you say are some of those challenging aspects of your job at Microsoft?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. And I'll throw out the word that everybody's using right now, which is imposter syndrome. I think that when I was in engineering, it was myself really that caused the biggest challenge. And that was that I didn't code. I worked on Intune, I worked on Configuration Manager, I worked on Azure, but from a community aspect. And so I would go into meetings feeling like, what am I doing here in this room full of all these very brilliant people? They code, they are testers, developers. And so for me, it was really getting out of my own comfort zone and realizing they're really good at what they do, which is why Microsoft hired them. But I'm pretty good at what I do, and I love what I do. And if we all code, or if we all were testers, or if we all were community managers, the Microsoft products wouldn't be here, right? We need all different skills. And so it took me a while, but I had to remind myself Microsoft hired me for my ability to do social media management, community management, end-to-end process for the programs that I run. And my passion for social media, it is important now more than ever. And so, yeah, it was my own imposter syndrome that was the hardest challenge for me in Microsoft.
So I want to quickly check with you, Ollie. How is your new role now different from your role when you were with the Azure team? I mean, you used to love
Night and
Azure
day.
and now you're with the team.
Wow.
Yes.
Night and day. It's actually an interesting story because when I was hired on to Azure, I was hired to do what my strengths are, right? Like run community, run events. I got the privilege of running the CDM, Cloud Data Management, MVP community. There are just so many amazing humans in the MVP world. And due to a reorg, which everyone knows that happens, my role changed like extensively. And I ended up taking on this feedback role where I was to read feedback on Azure Marketplace and share it with our friends that are creating the Marketplace app in Israel. And it just wasn't my passion. And so I did. I had to get really out of my box because I had to learn the more technically deep side of Azure. Thankfully, it was Marketplace, and that was something that was consumable and understandable for me. But it wasn't my strength, and it wasn't my passion. And so I did it. I did it for 3 years, and I felt really proud of myself because I did get out of the box. But going back to one of your first questions, again, what I love about Microsoft is I approached my manager and said, "Hey, do you care if I run my own podcast talking about community?" Because I had this passion and love for community. And he said, "Absolutely. That works right into our diversity and inclusion effort. Go for it." So I started that project. And Head in the Cloud, Heart in the Community was born, right? And then the other time I went to him and said, "So I have time on my plate. I would really like to get involved with the North Star Partner Program." And I got to amplify and share the stories of some of the partners that are out there. If we didn't have the partners that we have, we would have some really unhappy customers because they are not deploying Azure in a way that's the best, most secure way, and the best. I always say Azure is like a game of Tetris. If you don't set it up right, you're going to fail. And so I got to share what our partners were doing, and I really enjoyed that. So it took a minute for me to adjust to the change, but going from engineering where it's very process driven and data driven, going into a marketing organization where people are more, they're just more engaging, and it's okay. Both personalities are needed. It's night and day. And it's nice for me to be able to understand both worlds, marketing and engineering. It taught me how to process things differently, understand new processes, and be able to understand that sometimes my communication style needs to change when I'm speaking in an engineering world versus a marketing world versus if I'm talking to a customer. So I would tell everybody, if you're in tech, do a stint in a few different roles, because it really helps develop who you are and move you in your career.
Doing what you do now would mean that you have to do a lot of evangelizing,
Mhm.
your products.
Yes,
Yes. But you do way more than that, right? You get involved doing community related activities. You
yes.
relate with techie people. Yes. So how do you maintain that work-life balance? I mean, you also have your family that you
Mhm.
have to care about.
You
Yes.
know, I learned a lesson when I was in hospitality. So the one of the roles that I had, I supported a vice president of hotel, and in that role, I was 24 hours. I mean, I didn't necessarily have to work that much, but I felt like if a guest messaged me, I needed to hurry and message them back. If I needed to do a meet and greet on a weekend, I would show up just to greet this guest for 15 minutes and go home. I realized once I had my children that the world isn't going to fall apart if I don't answer an email within 10 minutes, right? So I had to set a new expectation for myself and my working style, especially during hybrid work, right? Um, I come downstairs and I'm at my office. So if I didn't start to give myself office hours, if you will, things would just get so out of hand, and you have to have a sense of balance. I need my kids to see that I have a sense of balance and that they are a priority. I had to realize that if I didn't answer an email within 10 minutes, nothing was going to happen. It's okay. And so by setting expectations for the people I work with, it just made things a little bit better. And then with hybrid work happening, I just set a schedule for myself. And obviously there's meetings that come up, before, after hours, but those are outside of the norm. So I just really had to set expectations for myself so that work-life balance in hybrid work wouldn't just get out of control.
Everybody always wish that there's this one thing that they knew before they started something. I'll give an example. In my own case, when I started my first venture, my first small little business, I wish I'd learned about sales myself. So,
Oh,
but I didn't have that sales background, so I wish I knew that before I started that business. So I want to ask you, Oli, what is that one thing that you know now, but you wish you knew back then when you started your career?
that's a really good question. I think for me, I've munged my way through my career. I did go to college. I went to college and I got a bachelor degree in communications and a minor in criminal justice. And now that I'm in the marketing world, I wish I would have known a little bit more about marketing, right? Like I'm learning as I go, which is a privilege of working at Microsoft. But I wish I would have been able to understand how powerful the ability to really create a strong deck, or how impactful writing your story is, or how to have stage presence that really lands the message that you want to share. And I think that those are important no matter what role you're in, because any role you're in, the ability to be a good storyteller is very important. And being able to do an elevator pitch and really land who you are, um, it really amplifies your voice, and it strengthens your reputation and really lands you in a different way. And so for me, I think it would be just digging in a little bit more to the marketing side when I was in school.
So, in wrapping up now, I want to ask you to share maybe something you can leave my audience with about how anyone now can become a good marketer. Maybe you want to talk about some of the qualities that you possess now that has gotten you to where you are now, to leave my audience with.
Yeah, I would say work on something you're truly passionate about. Um, and for me, it's community. I love the tech community. It's so funny because people will say when they meet me in person, "Oh my gosh, like you really are the same person that you are on Twitter." And I try to be. I try to be as genuine and as authentic as I can. And so working with tech community is really powerful for me personally because it's something I truly love. And the other, I would say, working on something that you're passionate about helps amplify your message with excitement and enthusiasm. And so for me, working on a technical component like Microsoft Teams, I can talk about it because I use it every day, and it has helped me stay connected with community, right? So there's these pieces that pull things together for me that make me really want to share the Microsoft Teams story and connect with other humans in the community. And so that is what helps me want to do all the social media. It helps me want to do the evangelism. It helps me want to make sure the blog is accurate, and getting feedback isn't so heavy for me. It's not burdensome. It says, okay, this is how I can make it better. This is what people are enjoying. And so all of that said, it's examples for me to explain why working on something that you're passionate about will help you to be a better marketer, because you will want to share the story with others.
Thank you so much, Ollie, for making out the time to
Thank you for
join me on the
having
show
me.
today on today's. All right, so here is what the time is going to permit us on today's episode. So if you have any questions you'd like to ask Ollie, please drop it in the comment section down below. And perhaps maybe if there's anyone you'd like me to interview next at Microsoft, you can also mention that in the comment. I'm sure Ollie can help me make it happen, right?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So from myself and Ollie now, it's a bye-bye, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.